Everyone wants to know where Ben Simmons, Damian Lillard, and Bradley Beal are going to end up because those are the three big ones.
Yeah, well, here's a question. Do you think Ben Simmons gets traded?
No,
I don't either. I don't
I don't
know.
think any of those three get traded.
I don't know why you would move him at the nadir of his value. First of all, Damian Lillard, we feel like at least a year too early on, right?
At least a year. I don't know. And again, like I think it's always important to provide the caveats that we don't have the sources that a lot of writers and reporters do. So this is purely from an outside perspective. But I've always gotten the sense from Damian Lillard's social media activity, from the way he's comported himself in post-game press conferences and media availability sessions, that he wants to play in Portland forever because that's just kind of how he's wired. That he started his career there, coming from a lightly recruited high school player to a Weber State standout to a rookie sensation to a superstar, that he wants to finish what he started in Portland.
Yeah, I do feel like that stance is loosening just based off the report from Chris Haynes. So it would not, but it just seems like even if he wanted out right now, he would have to be super messy about it to get them to move him with 4 years left on his deal. It feels like. So I agree with you there. With Simmons, I would say specifically that if I'm the Sixers, I'm trying to reboot if you want to move him.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a mid-season trade for him, just not an off-season one.
And it's not even just Ben Simmons is a better regular season player than he is in the playoffs, even though that's to this point
that's fine
true.
to say.
But you put distance between yourself and the most recent memory of him just becoming this total and complete off-season liability, this offensive liability. Excuse me.
Can I push back there though? Because I get that. I get that he was an offensive liability during the fourth quarters because he couldn't touch the ball or they were going to foul him, and he wasn't attacking because he was afraid to go to the free throw line. Just the antithesis of the Giannis mentality. But I feel like there's been too much marginalization of his talent because his passing impact and his ability in those first three quarters was still pretty spectacular. I mean, the TPA numbers from NBA math still have him as a positive offensive presence, but that doesn't take into account him not touching the ball because, he didn't rack up any negative stats while not touching the ball, obviously. So I think that's a little bit misleading, but he still did provide a good bit of value.
Yes, but looking at the conference final specifically, if you have someone who you want to put the ball in his hands, and it didn't seem like the Sixers always wanted to at all for any point during the game, they need to be a threat to score. And he had.
Oh, I'm not saying that he's the right fit for Philadelphia or anything like that. Just that I don't like just completely all-encompassing value down to he was a liability.
In trade talks for sure. Like I would give up more for Ben Simmons than I think the average fan would at this point. And but I get like looking at he attempted 7 or fewer shots in 5 games against the Hawks. I think it was 5 of the 7, which is I know we went to the line in some of those, but those line trips included a 3 of 10 night and a 4 of 14 night. So that is a problem. But I had this discussion with Tara Bowen Biggs when we talked about the Blazers. I asked whether she would do CJ McCollum and Robert Covington for Ben Simmons, and she thought that was and Anthony Tolliver would be involved, guarantee his contract for money purposes. She thought that was a bit of an overpay for Ben Simmons. And I get it from the Blazers' perspective of why would we give up these two really good players for Ben Simmons when his value seems to have hit rock bottom. But if I'm Philly, like I'm not even sure I do Robert Covington and CJ McCollum for Ben Simmons. I would consider it. I don't know if that's the trade that I'm, if it's that or going to the regular season with him, I might just pick going to the regular season.
I agree. I do think that it would be a fair trade at this stage. But, and I'm probably a little lower on Robert Covington than most people. I just question the consistency of the shooting. And I mean, you've heard me talk about it before. Great help defender, off-ball defender, not necessarily great point of attack defender, which you increasingly need against wings in today's NBA. So I think that's a fair package. But if I'm Philadelphia, I know that I can recoup more value if he shines during the regular season and we're reminded, hey, this is a defensive player of the year contender, all defensive first teamer, potential all NBA threat because of his passing and defense alone.
Another Ben Simmons trade then for you to munch on. DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, and the number 12 pick for Ben Simmons.
I don't think I'm as intrigued if I'm Philly because I don't know what DeJounte Murray is yet. If I'm looking to replace Ben Simmons from Philadelphia's perspective, I need more shooting. And Vassell looks like he could very much be that 3-and-D guy. I don't trust Murray enough at this point. And you need that guard who can create.
I trust Murray to be an upgrade offensively from Ben Simmons. Shown he can
Sure.
hit some standstill threes, and he's shooting. He just shoots more than Ben Simmons and from further out. I think
I don't think it's a bad fit. I just don't think it's quite enough.
it just given what he can do defensively, doesn't have the same range, but he could have been all defense this year, in my opinion. I think what would turn me off if I'm Philly, and maybe San Antonio just doesn't want to go this route either. We should mention, but like Devin Vassell in number 12 is a little bit too mystery box when you have Joel Embiid wanting to win now. Do you have like, is there another trade lined up where you're parlaying those into somebody else that helps you immediately? But that was one where I thought if the Spurs wanted to take a swing, and I actually really do like Murray in Philly. And then Vassell, I think he'll shoot better from three as time goes on. He's already really just a defensive workaholic. That would
I
intrigue
want
me.
to be clear that I do like Murray in Philly, just not necessarily enough to want to take that package right now.